Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Malden School Committee meeting. Today is Monday, February 3rd, 2025. The time is 6:03 p.m. Our next meeting will take place on Monday, March 3rd, 2025, here in the Council Chamber at 6 p.m. This evening's agenda consists of the following. First, we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. We'll ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country. From there, we'll have our clerk take attendance to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together this evening. After that, we'll get into tonight's agenda, which consists of the following. There are 8 items. The first is the approval of the special session minutes of January 13th, 2025. That will be followed by public comment. We're going to do 15 minutes of public comment, 3 minutes per speaker. But before we begin public comment, we are going to take something out of order from the superintendent's report, which is Malden Reads, who is going to present the 2025 book selections and programs. Again, from there we'll go to public comment, then the superintendent's report. Having covered Malden Reads, the superintendent will give an update on the proposed graduation policy. We'll talk about the budget introduction for fiscal year 2026, and then there will be a further discussion on the superintendent's entry plan. After that, we'll go to subcommittee reports and discussions, of which there are 2 items. First, we're going to hear from Ms. Rose Zeiberg on policy and procedure. And then to my right, your left, we'll hear from Ms. Spadafora about negotiations. After that, we do have one motion. I actually think it's a resolution that's being sponsored by Mr. Bernard. It's an inflation cap resolution. And that has to deal with the Chapter 70 formula, which Mr. Bernard will outline. Now, after that, we'll hear from the members who want to speak about what's going on in their respective wards. And then, pending a motion for approval, we'll go into executive session for 4 items. The first is we're going to move to approve January 13th, 2025's minutes from the special meeting that we had. And then, number 2, we are going to discuss an open meeting law complaint dated January 24th, 2025, filed by Bruce Friedman against the Malden School Committee. Item number 3, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, subsection A3. We're going to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with SEIU Local 888 Cafeteria. I actually think this is contract, right? Approval? Yes. And then from there, number 4, we're going to continue on discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with the Malden Education Association Units A, B, and C. Then we'll come back out. We will, pending what happens in executive session, potentially vote on one of these items in open session. And then from there, we will move adjournment until our next meeting, which again takes place March 3rd. What's everyone think? Any questions, queries, qualms, concerns? Hearing none? All right, let's pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I'd ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so around the world today. Thank you. We'll now have our clerk take attendance.
Mayor Christensen,
Here.
Mr. Drummy. Here. Mr. McCarthy. Here. Ms. Spadafora.
Here.
Ms. Macklin.
Here.
Ms. Horty. Mr. Gray. Here. Mr. Bernard. Here. Ms. Rose Zeiberg.
Here.
Superintendent Sippel.
Here.
Student Representative Kathleen Fontanilla.
All right, great. So we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together. I'm going to segue over to our Vice Chair, Ms. Spadafora, for a moment to let you know where we are with translation. I know some members that regularly come to our meetings have been asking where we are with the transition from Zoom to Teams, and Ms. Spadafora has been all over that, so let's have her give an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are still in the works of processing a switch to Teams. We did switch to Teams, but apparently educational licenses don't carry the translation that we need, so we have to switch to a different license. But in the meanwhile, we do have Zoom, and we have translation and closed captioning, so
Great.
It's better than nothing. So I just, those people that are participating at home, and hopefully, because it's not translating yet, but to access translations, you're going to go down to the captions button at the bottom, and you're going to choose click the caption language that you need the captions translated to. This is last minute, so I apologize. I'm going to try to drop these instructions into the, do we have a chat? I'm going to try to drop these instructions somewhere, because obviously me talking in English right now is probably not very helpful to those watching in another language, although you could say this all for me, Dr. Sippel, in Spanish, if needed. But let's try to drop this into a chat for those at home that can translate it. And hopefully by the next meeting, we will have our teams up and running with full translation, but we're getting there. Good. Technology.
All right, thank you, Ms. Spadafora, for staying on top of this. Okay, let's take a look at these minutes from January 13th. You've all had an opportunity. Motion by, was that you, Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any questions, queries? All good? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. The special session minutes of January 13th, 2025 are approved unanimously. All right, let's bring up Malden Reads, one of our favorite moments of the year. Welcome back. Thank you for your continued support of our city.
Thank you, Mayor Christensen. And thank you, Dr. Sippel. Thank you. Oops, I'm sorry.
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
Are we good to continue?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm just bringing up our slides. And as I'm doing that, I'll introduce who I have with me. My name is Jody Zalk. I'm one of the co-facilitators for Malden Reads. And somehow, I'm hoping you'll see my slides soon, but I have with me folks from Malden High School, and we're so pleased to have them as one of our partners. We have Mr. Nadell, who is one of the school librarians, and he is also the advisor for Malden High Loves for Kids, and we have some of the members of that high school club with us, and I'll be introducing them in a moment, but can you see my slides? Because I can see them here, but I don't see them on the screen.
No.
Okay. I'm going to try doing something else. It says screen sharing is paused, so I'll try again.
Oh, now it is.
Huzzah. Okay. Thank you. So I wanted to introduce myself and Malden Reads a little bit, and then we'll hear from MHS Loves for Kids and some of the programs and some of the books that we are going to be implementing this year. To start, I do want to thank you again for having us here before you this evening and let you know this is our 15th year for Malden Reads, and it is truly humbling to be before you for 15 years and to have this community organization have such an impact over these years. We're a community organization that dreams of new answers each year when we ask, what if all of Malden reads the same book? And we are made up of passionate and dedicated volunteers in collaboration, if folks don't know, with the Malden Public Library and Urban Media Arts as our anchor institutions and fiscal agents. Each year we select a main book for the community to read, and we plan programs related to its themes, and we also select companion books so that the themes are accessible across different reading levels, and so we can connect our whole community, including the public schools, through literacy and the power of reading. And so tonight we are here to announce our book selections for 2025, share about youth activities and collaborations, and describe plans for our upcoming programs. So to start, I'd like to begin sharing highlights of our collaborations with the Malden Public Schools over the past 14 years. Each year, Malden Reads provides a donation of developmentally appropriate, diverse books and educator resources to the Malden Public Schools. Over the years, Malden Reads has donated hundreds of titles and thousands of books to the Malden Public Schools. We know how important it is for students to see themselves in a book, and we have consistently partnered with the high school ELA teacher leaders, other teacher leaders, literacy coaches, the ELA and World Languages Director, school librarians, and so many others to help support educators' efforts and to support students. Among the partnerships that we've implemented include a partnership with Tufts University, supporting a mini writer's den for middle school writers, and our 2025 program for the mini writer's den will begin this week. We're excited about that. We have had in-person and remote author visits and a video library of author talks, and an adaptive arts program in collaboration with the Chinese Culture Connection. Our mission is to connect the community through reading, and we value the connections that we've made with educators and students who are the future of our community. And this past summer, thank you to Mayor Christensen and also to the mini mayor, youth outreach coordinator, Henry Fenn, we met the Malden High School Club Love for Kids. And while the high school has many impressive students, the drive behind these students is so extraordinary. We have already collaborated on many literacy-based projects together to create learning opportunities in the community for families and children. Not only are their futures ahead bright, but they are making a difference in our community. And I will let Sophia Chan, the president of Malden High Loves for Kids, describe our partnership as well as tell you about our 2025 book selection. So I'm just gonna get over to Sophia's slides for you. Sorry, Sophia, here we go.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here today. My name is Sophia Chan, and I am the Vice President of Love for Kids. And I am joined today by Rashmi KC, our Social Media Coordinator, and Aldana Abraham, our Vice President, as well as Mr. Nadell, our advisor. Love for Kids is a club at the Malden High School where we read and have a wide variety of educational activities planned with teachers from the Early Learning Center for children that are ages 1 to 4. Activities we have planned other than reading are face painting, puppet shows, and arts and crafts.
We wanted to create an additional educational and fun program that would allow children who may not be native speakers of English through one-on-one partners to develop literacy skills, as well as provide extra support to young students in general. As we have many young siblings and cousins and students that we care for in Malden, we would like to see those students receive help and the most support they can when it comes to their education. In addition to learning literacy skills, we believe that our club helps support students and display critical thinking, creative expression, community engagement, and cultural awareness.
Reading to young children during a child's development is critical for learning, especially when it comes to cognitive development. This club was made possible through our many dedicated and passionate volunteers who help provide the support to the young students in our community. In addition to working with other high school volunteers, through Henry Fan, the youth outreach coordinator at City Hall, we were able to meet with Malden Reads and found that we had many of the same passions and goals. This led to collaborating at many substantial events when it came to planning activities and providing volunteers. Helping each other's visions come to life when it came to greater education, reaching not just students at the Early Learning Center, but also children throughout the entire Malden community.
Events we have collaborated on in the past with Malden Reads is Indigenous Peoples Day. On this day, we had children take part in making murals that would allow them to express their creativity and learn about Indigenous people, how they lived through the way they caught food, and the games they played, along with other artworks like creating their own fishes, pea sticks, and trees that would allow them to learn more about the environment and Indigenous culture. These artworks made by the kids who attended the event were then displayed at the Malden High School Library, allowing high school students to remember this day and learn about Indigenous people. Many of these activities were adapted from educational children's books like The Rainbow Fish and Fry Bread.
Other events we have collaborated on with Malden Reads include Winter Wonders, Stargazing, and Chinese Culture Connection, along with many others, with different activities adapted to each event, though through the same educational goal as Indigenous Peoples Day.
We are thrilled to announce that the Malden Reads book for 2025, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, is an empowering book about the importance of a good public education. As for many, education allows people to gain more opportunities and learn important life skills. The narrator, William Kamkawamba, did not have a free public education, as his family was not able to afford one. Though he adapted to this situation through the help of his community and access to books, he was able to learn about windmills and how they can create energy. With this knowledge, William and his community were able to build windmills and successfully bring their energy into their remote town and village in Malawi. Through sharing ideas with his community and the help of others who trusted in his ability to solve problems.
Within a few years, they were able to significantly better each other's lives, leading to meaningful and lasting change, showing the power of education and a strong community that works together. Because of people like William Kamkwamba and his community, we strongly believe free and strong education is important to have development and growth. We promote the power of education and community by working with organizations such as Malden Reads and the Multicultural Club. We have confidence that we can create an impact that allows people to become inspired and motivated to improve themselves in Malden as a community.
Events Love for Kids will be collaborating with Malden Reads this year are the opening celebration of The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind at the Bread of Life, and are collaborating with Malden Reads for an inclusive art program that helps children with disability to express their creativity and develop focused critical thinking and fine motor skills. Thank you.
I have just a few more slides to wrap up, although it is hard to follow that. They are so wonderful and really are so inspiring to us and to all of the reasons why we do what we do. So as slides are still loading, I want to again thank Malden High Love for Kids and sharing the programs that we've collaborated on together here in our community. And thank you to them for announcing our 2025 Malden Reads book selection. And here on the slide, you can see that there are different editions of The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. They are all called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, which is a little bit confusing, but there are different editions, and we wanted to make sure that everybody has an edition that is appropriate to them. There's a picture book, a young adult version, and an adult version as well. We are gifting copies this evening of the Young Readers Edition to school committee members. We hope you will read it and share it with your constituencies and come to an event. As Sophia described, and Aldana and Rashmi, the themes from the book that resonated with our book selection committee include sustainability, innovation, the power of perseverance, water conservation, gardening for food sources, and the importance of teaching science to the next generation. And we wanted to explicitly welcome you and invite you to our opening celebration, which will be 1 week from tonight on February 10th at 6:30 p.m. It will be held at the new Bread of Life facility, and we're excited to have that event with food and music and learning about the Boy Who Harnessed the Wind and some of the other community organizations in our program. We also will be having other events, including one led by Mayor Christensen, a book discussion at the library that will be held on February 26th, and we'll be holding other events throughout the spring, including book discussions, film screenings, and family programs. And we hope that you will join us on the 10th, where we'll be showcasing programs including not just Love for Kids, but also the High School Eco Club, the Multicultural Club, Students in the Makerspace, and our other community partners. And we always want to collaborate and connect with other organizations and folks in the community, and we really want to thank you for your involvement and hope that we will see you on the 10th and other events this year.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May we distribute the books
Please.
now? Okay, thank you.
School committee will be in a brief recess. All right, school committee is back. We're now at public comment. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the school committee. We only state that you state your name and address for the record. Public comment will now be open for 15 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker. We'll give you a 30-second reminder, okay? So let me turn the mic on. All set?
My name is Marie Motley. I live at 70 School Street in Saugus, Mass. Good evening, members of the school committee. My name is Marie Motley, and I have had the privilege of working as a school social worker at Malden High for over 15 years. During this time, I've had the honor of supporting our students in a variety of roles, but the one that's closest to my heart is my work with the students in the Pathways program. The Pathways program is an alternative high school program designed to meet the unique needs of our most vulnerable students, those who face significant emotional, social, and behavioral challenges that make the traditional classroom environment difficult for them. These are students who, for various reasons, may struggle with attendance, behavior, or personal circumstances, yet have so much potential to succeed when given the right environment and support. As a longtime social worker, I've seen firsthand the transformative impact of the Pathways program. Many of the students who come to us feel lost, disconnected, and sometimes even invisible. But the right support that is personalized and built on strong, trusting relationships, those same students can blossom. I've seen it happen time and time again, and it's one of the most rewarding parts of my job. However, the success of the Pathways program depends heavily on a role that is crucial to the structure and functioning of the program manager. This role is essential in providing the individualized care that these students need. The program manager is not just an administrator overseeing disciplinary issues. They are a critical figure in helping students stay on track with their education. They collaborate with families and work closely with teachers to create environments where students can thrive. Unfortunately, this year, for the first time in the history of Pathways, there is no dedicated program manager. While we're grateful for the support of Jared Wickham and Brian Bates, who have stepped in to help manage the program, the absence of a full-time program manager has placed an immense strain on everyone involved. The complexities of the students' needs require someone who is able to focus exclusively on their growth and challenges, someone who can devote the time and attention necessary to ensure that they are getting the personalized care they deserve. Without a dedicated program manager, we risk losing the progress we've made. We risk falling short in providing the support and structure that these students need to succeed. The reality of it is that many students in Pathways have faced trauma, displacement, and significant challenges in their lives. They need an administrator who will advocate for them, someone who understands them, and someone who can work with their families to ensure they're getting the full range of supports they need. I'm here tonight to advocate for the reinstatement of the program manager position for the Pathways program. This is not just about administrative oversight. This is about giving our most vulnerable students the best chances at success. As a social worker who has been honored to work with MHS students for over a decade, I ask
Okay,
you
the time, you're almost done?
Okay.
Because you're at 3, okay.
Yep. Consider the importance of this position and the impact it will have not only on the students in Pathways, but on the broader Malden High community. When our most vulnerable students succeed, we all succeed. Thank you for your time and for your commitment for the well-being and success of our students.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now.
Good evening, Chair Mayor Christensen, Vice Chair Spadafora, Dr. Sippel, and members of the school committee. My name is Deb Gesualdo. I'm president of the Malden Education Association located at 77 Exchange Street here in Malden. As you know, we are just some of the many educators who are elected to represent the dedicated education workers who work tirelessly every day to support and uplift our students. We're deeply committed to the mission of fostering a school environment where every child feels valued, heard, and safe physically, emotionally, and intellectually. As we continue to navigate the challenges of the current moment in our country, it's critical that we do so with an unwavering commitment to the well-being of all of our students. One issue that demands our collective attention right now is the safety and protection of our immigrant students. These students who often face tremendous challenges both at home and in their communities need our support now more than ever. We cannot and must not let fear and division take root in our schools or our community. That's why we are here today to ask this committee to partner with the union in distributing red cards from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center to students, ensuring that they understand their rights. These cards can be a lifeline for students, particularly those who are undocumented or at risk of deportation. When they feel empowered to speak up and protect themselves with their constitutional rights, they can better navigate any fears they may face in the school environment or in their community. The red cards would be at no cost to the district, as the MEA has already ordered a few thousand of them to distribute in the community. In addition, we urge the committee to commit to ongoing efforts to protect all students from any form of discrimination or intimidation, whether based on immigration status, race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or ability. Our schools must be places where every single child feels emotionally and physically safe. The union is ready to work with you to keep our school environments inclusive and welcoming for all, especially our most vulnerable students. Together, we can create the kind of supportive, equitable school system that helps every student reach their full potential. The moment is now for us to collectively be the voices of justice and kindness that our students need. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. Anybody online?
So if I have anybody on Zoom that would like to speak in public comment, please use the raised hand feature and you will be promoted to speak.
All right, seeing none, last call here. Okay, public comment is now closed. Let's go to our superintendent.
Well, good evening, Mayor Christensen, school committee members, and members of the public who are here. I want to thank you all for this opportunity to share some information in this month's report. We already heard from Malden Reads, but we're going to be speaking about two main items tonight. One is a proposed graduation policy that addresses the needs that have been highlighted in the following the passage of question 2, and just an introduction into fiscal year 26 budget development, and then just a couple of opportunities for input into the entry plan I'll be sharing tonight as our next steps. Just a reminder, the core values that guide our work as a district have been to include and collaborate to make sure that we are hearing the voices of everyone in our community as we work to advance the success of our students and to collaborate with one another and collaborate with all stakeholders. The importance of embracing growth, that none of our students is a finished product. They're all on a journey just as we are and our schools are. And we're all working towards becoming a better version of ourselves and our district becoming better as well. And then lastly, the importance of doing right by all kids. We want to be committed that every child, regardless of what their background is, what their resources might be, what success or lack of success they've experienced in the past, that we're committed to supporting all of them as they move forward to prepare them for the future. In that vein, echoing some of what one of our Ms. Giswalda shared, do want to just call out, I've received a lot of parents and a lot of community members who've reached out to me regarding concerns, both for our immigrant students, but also for students who are transgender or gender nonconforming, in the wake of different announcements that have emanated from Washington, D.C. And what as you know, I shared a message with the community last week or the week before regarding our current school committee policy on immigrant students and just affirming their right to be in the legal requirement that we in fact educate them and give them every opportunity to learn in our schools. But I also just wanted to remind all of us that Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 76, Section 5, states the following, that no person shall be excluded from or discriminated against in admission to a public school of any town or in obtaining the advantages, privileges, and courses of study of such public school on account of race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation. And I just think it's important for everyone in our community to know that this is a state law that we follow. This is a state law that guides all of the regulations within our Commonwealth related to public education. And the announcements and executive orders can say a lot of things at the federal level, but that doesn't change our obligations here in the state, and this is what we will continue to do every day. So I just wanted to open with that, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to the proposed graduation policy, I just want to review information we shared with the committee last month related to the graduation requirements and the impact of question 2 and the necessity to respond to question 2 with an amendment and revision to our policy here in Malden. And then we'll review the highlights of the proposed policy revision with respect to competency determination, which is the most important part of the policy that needs to be amended, and then the next steps. And we'll have time at that point for the committee to ask questions before we move on. So just a reminder, our students have to meet in Massachusetts both local requirements and also the standards of a competency determination. You remember and know well that our students achieve 21 credits, and there are courses across all of the content areas, 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math, as you can see here, that are required for students in the class of 2025, and that's been in effect for many years. Several years ago, the committee amended those graduation requirements to align with Mass Core, so that when a student receives a diploma here in Malden, they also have met the minimum admission standard for our state university systems. And so specifically for the class of 2026 going forward, it's 22 credits, and it does include 2 years of world language and a year of fine art. But the competency determination is the part that needs to be updated. Our students previously, and students across the Commonwealth since the early 90s, demonstrated that competency based on a minimum score on the MCAS tests. And that is the part that has changed with the passage of question 2. Now the competency determination must be defined by school committee policy, and the district must certify that certain coursework and mastery of that coursework is evidence that they've met that minimum standard. So this is our recommendation, and I want to acknowledge the work of Assistant Superintendent Como Basin, and also Director of Guidance Aaron Craven, collaborating with others in the guidance department at the high school, especially, who spent time not only thinking this through and drafting the proposed policy before you, but also connecting with other districts and their counterparts in other districts to make sure that what we are proposing is in alignment with what other districts are also doing. And so the proposal is, first of all, that students would demonstrate mastery, skills, competencies, and curriculum as measured in the areas measured by the 2023 MCAS high school test, as evidenced by passing the following classes: Math 2 in math, English 10 in English language arts, and then biology or physics in science. And for each of these, that there would also be a provision for an equivalent course to be counted for that. That is very important because we do have students transferring into Malden High School continuously. I believe Ms. Basine has an extraordinary statistic that she could share. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Basine, but it was 400 students of the class of 2025. Is that right? No.
If you look at our current roster of MHS.
Please. Mm-hmm.
Good evening, thank you. If we look at the students who are currently enrolled in Malden High, just under 400 of these students enrolled in our district within the last 3 years. And what's wonderful about that is these students speak more than 37 home languages and hail from over 50 different countries, which is one of the things that draws so many of us to work in Malden. It's just such an amazing testament to our community, and it speaks to the complexity of developing a policy around equivalent coursework.
Thank you. She said it better than I could have. The next part of the policy is that former Malden High School students who did not pass the MCAS when they finished their time with us and were awarded a certificate of attainment instead, but believe that they've met the current competency determinant requirements that would be adopted through this policy, they would have the option of submitting their a request in writing to have their transcript reevaluated to see if they meet the competency standard, and then they could be granted a diploma. And then lastly, that the determination regarding equivalent coursework would be made by the principal. In practice, we would anticipate there would actually be guidance counselors who would be carefully reviewing transcripts from the student's previous school, whatever state or municipality or country they've come from, and then they would make a recommendation for the student to have met the competency determination, which would be finally approved by the principal. And in cases where there's a dispute about it or a question about it, they could appeal the principal's decision to the director of guidance and the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. This policy would take effect, obviously, for the class of 2025. We're very concerned about them. These are students who took MCAS because that was the law of the Commonwealth 2 years ago when they were 10th graders. And now here they are in the second semester of their senior year, looking forward to crossing the stage, and we've shifted the goalposts, potentially. And we want to be fair to them. And so that's part of the urgency of taking action, if possible, this evening, so they know where they stand. This policy would also be in effect for the class of 26 and beyond. However, the committee would reserve the right to revise it as there may be further guidance from the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. And I know many of us are aware, the governor has recently announced the appointment of a commission to look at potentially designing a statewide framework to meet the requirements of Question 2, the new law. But that's still on the horizon. So those are the essential parts of the graduation, the proposed policy. Hopefully we'll have some discussion tonight, Mr. Chair. And then just want to reassure everyone that for students who are at risk of not meeting graduation requirements, mainly because they haven't achieved all the course requirements, interventions are ongoing already with those students. And as I've mentioned previously, we have also interventions for our 9th and 10th graders to prepare them for future success, including on the high school MCAS, even though it's not required, it's competency determination.
Okay, thank you. What say you all? Questions, queries? Let's go to Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question for the superintendent regarding the competency determination policy recommendation on the second slide. So slide 2, bullet point 1, when it comes to the former Malden High students, can you just clarify how you plan on reaching out to those students when it comes to letting them know that they have that opportunity to be able to look at their MCAS results? I think that's important.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I believe that's something that Ms. Basine and Director Craven may have talked about, but it would have been a little bit premature because it's not yet been adopted. But we certainly know who those students are from our past records, and we would be able to reach out to them and inform them of that opportunity.
Do you know what that number is offhand?
No, I don't. I don't have that information here. I think historically it's not been a large number of students for whom that was the barrier, but it is, but you can find that information.
Yeah, because I mean, clearly it's important because we want to give, you know, any student that has that opportunity to be able to actually, you know, hold that actual physical diploma. You know, that's a life goal for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't get that opportunity, but I'd just be interested to see how that goes if, you know, if this actually passes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but thank you for that information.
And Member McCarthy, I could just say that we could obviously come back to the committee with an update, assuming the policy is adopted, then we could provide that information and what follow-up has taken place.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Student Representative, do you have any questions? Okay. Let's go to Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent Sippel, I have a couple questions about the proposal of graduation requirements. I love the idea that we're looking at a lot of varied electives that are listed here. My concern is who's going to teach the electives. Do we have the manpower to teach the electives? And do we have, when I'm looking at a year, 1 year or credit from fine or performing arts, I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know that anyone here does, how many current performing or fine arts teachers do we have? And will they be able to teach enough classes, be within their contract required hours? That's what I see when I'm looking at this. I love this, but is this going to be able to play out in the way that, and I'm aware that, you know, there are currently teachers that teach math and financial literacy, you know, so I understand that that happens, but I was just looking more at the fine and the performing arts, because if we're looking for everyone to get a credit there, that pool is usually smaller.
Let's give him a chance to respond.
So thank you for the question, Ms. Horty. And I just want to clarify that that portion of the policy, the reason why it's contained there is because in our current policy, in our policy manual on the MASC website, it doesn't list the courses at all. It's silent on that, and so we just thought it was important for the committee to be explicit about those course requirements. However, that it has been the expectation that with the class of 2026 going forward that they would achieve Mass Core. And so separate from this discussion, I know Assistant Superintendent Basine has been working with the curriculum directors in the areas specifically of world language and fine arts to confirm to make sure that we have enough seats, if you will, to make sure that every student has the opportunity over 4 years to at least get 1 credit, but obviously, ideally getting more exposure than that if possible. But we're definitely aware of that concern, and with the class of 2026 in particular, we want to make sure that every student has that opportunity for the 2 years of world language as well as the full year of fine art.
And can I ask one other follow-up question? I noticed that you also have down for world language the seal of biliteracy requirement. And I'm excuse me, but I'm unfamiliar with this World Language Department. I'm only familiar with the one that I work with. Are students given the opportunity to take the biliteracy test at the end of the year within the district, just as an option for their specific language?
Yes, yes, they are. In fact, I had the opportunity with Principal Mastrangelo to speak to all of the 10th graders last week, because a question that many of them are asking is, okay, if the MCAS is no longer required for competency determination, why are we still doing this? And we had a really great conversation, all 500 10th graders and us in the auditorium. It was great. They were really, really, really engaged. Our student representative was there. Hopefully she can be my witness. It was good, right? Okay. One of the things that we talked about, we talked about the Adams Scholarship, we talked about other reasons why knowing where you stand as far as being prepared for the future is valuable, and this is a standard that's used across the Commonwealth for that purpose. But we also, in that discussion, there was a question that came up about bilingualism and how the value of bilingualism, and Mr. Mastrangelo made the statement about the seal of biliteracy, that test, MCAS for English, but then for the other languages, that's available to them in a host of languages.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Ms. Macklin, then we'll go to Ms. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent, can you tell us a little bit about the language for the certificate of attainment? That's not something that I'm familiar with. And just wondering how that differs from the diploma language, and is that used outside of Massachusetts?
Yes. So and I'll invite Assistant Superintendent McDonald to come up, make sure that I don't misspeak. But essentially, when MCAS was a graduation, or the requirement for the competency determination, if a student had met all the other local requirements but had not passed MCAS, as an acknowledgement of what they had achieved, they were given a certificate of attainment and allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony, even though they were not given a diploma. Is that correct?
That's correct, and most of those students then stayed on with us to do a transition program, and were allowed to stay till they're 22, and then left us on their 22nd birthday. Just as a point, we already have had students calling us that have certificates of attainment looking, so we are already working with families on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spadafora.
Don't walk away, Pam. No, just a very quick question. So that would be students that took MCAS alts?
Yes.
Okay.
And what we'll do is look at their transcript and see if the courses they took were equivalent to the courses that they took. And a lot of them may, and some of them may not.
Okay. That makes me happy, though. Superintendent, just a quick question on, in regards to, so all of the competency determination proposals, they tie to MCAS somewhat, because Math 2, English 10, those are both sophomore courses that you'd be taking that, or that information would be in MCAS, correct? I'm just curious, what in science, biology, so MCAS, we take our freshman year, 9th grade MCAS, correct? Biology? But why physics? Because physics isn't offered usually until junior year. So I'm just curious why such the big difference in the science requirement.
Well, that's a great question, Spadafora. So in question 2 is the language of question 2, which is now the law. It does say coursework equivalent to what was tested on the 2023 MCAS. And in 2023, there was English Language Arts that all 10th graders were required to take, and the math MCAS that all students were required to take. And then in science, there were only 2 tests that were offered, one in biology and one in physics. They had phased out chemistry and they had phased out the engineering test. So the only 2 were those. And unlike English Language Arts and math, which are always administered in 10th grade, those 2 tests are administered at the end of the year when that course is taken. So if they were in physics in 11th grade and they had not taken biology previously to already meet the MCAS requirement, they would take the physics test. Some schools offer physics as a 9th grade course also, and they take it then. But that's why those two subjects are called out, because those were the only science tests that were administered in 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Rose Zeiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A quick question, or might not be, depending on the answer. Looking at it, demonstrating mastery of skills, competencies, and curriculum frameworks in the areas, and is evidenced by a passing score in the class. If we can talk about that and what would be the definition of a passing score, does that include a D all the way up to an A? And sort of interested in hearing how other committee members feel about that. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So the idea is that if they obtain a credit in that class, which would be for a D or higher, then yes, that would be considered a passing score. And again, the intent here is to avoid creating more of a hurdle for students than they would have faced had that been the MCAS itself. And to not, again, to avoid moving the goalposts in an extreme way as students are entering the home stretch towards their graduation. So that could be the definition of mastery as a passing score could be an area that the committee might revisit. Anecdotally, we have paid attention to what some of our peer districts have been doing, and we've seen draft policies from across the state, from many urban districts, but also other districts that are more affluent, you might say. Mm-hmm. And the language that we're proposing here is consistent with what the majority of those districts are also doing for 2025.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So we'll entertain any motions. Mr. Bernard?
You can tell me whether this is appropriate or inappropriate, but I think we should go and send this to policy for review, and we can have a discussion about it there, and then go and bring it back to the city council unless we want to go and, bring it back to the school committee. It's been a long day.
Stand by, because I think the superintendent's team were hoping for action tonight, or do I have that wrong?
The superintendent's team would love to see action tonight. I think the class of 2025, more than we, would like to see something more immediate, because just to make sure that there isn't any surprises waiting for them as we get closer to the day.
Then I'll withdraw that, but I'll make another motion to go in, for us to go in and vote on that tonight to accept it.
And Mr. Bernard, as the superintendent said, down the road, we can revisit. We can look at what Ms. Rose Zeiberg said about the grades, but I think for now, we just need to react and get something in place for the student rep and others. So motion made. Well, I want to wait for a second. Anybody want to second it? Second for purposes of discussion. That was Ms. Spadafora. All right, so now it's properly before us. Ms. Horty, and then we'll go to Ms. Rose Zeiberg.
I'm wondering if we can just pull them apart, meaning can we vote on the 2025 graduation requirements tonight and get that handled, and then send the second portion to policy? Are we allowed to do that, or no? Does it have to be all on the, because they're different, right? No. Well, their criteria is different, I guess is what I'm looking at,
Super.
for 2025 versus the 2026 and beyond.
So
Or no?
what was already in place in the student handbooks that have been, in the program of studies that have been approved in years past, was that the local graduation requirements, meaning the courses that need to be passed, were changing for the class of 2026 going forward. And that's
Anyway.
already been established, and we've been working and preparing students to meet those requirements. The other piece is, would be the same for all students, the competency determination. So if the policy were adopted, that would be in place, and then, but could also be revised in the future at the pleasure of the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zeiberg.
Just raising a question procedurally, when a motion is done this way, that we do have, because there's policies on how we have to adopt or amend policies, so we would have to set those aside. It's sort of a step process, so that vote would have to be taken before we can make an adoption.
Okay.
Superintendent Sipple's nodding.
So further expound.
I've got to try to find where I put the policy in place on how to adapt. I'm going to try to find it now. To make an amendment, or because we have policy in place. I have been looking it up today. It's policy BGB. To permit time for study of all policies or amendments to policies is a portion of it. It must be presented as an agenda item to the committee in the following sequence: an information item, a discussion item, then an action item. But motions to amend in policy, a draft policy, and the action item must be made in writing, but then the school committee may dispense with the above sequence to meet emergency conditions by a 2/3 vote.
Okay. Motion to suspend docket rules. Motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Ms. Spadafora. Everybody clear on what we're doing here? Any questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spadafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Zeiberg?
Yes.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Now back to the motion. You made it. It was seconded by Ms. Spadafora to adopt. Right, Mr. Bernard? You were the sponsor. Clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Drummy?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spadafora?
No.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Zeiberg?
Yes.
Okay, that carries 8 to 1. 8 to 1, yep. All right, very good. Let's keep it going. Budget introduction.
All right. Thank you for that. As many of you are aware, 2 weeks ago, the administration in Boston released the proposed budget for this coming year, and the Chapter 70 aid and foundation budget was also announced for school districts across the Commonwealth. I'm just going to be just reminding us about Chapter 70 is all about, what the foundation budget is and what it consists of. Some comparisons with Malden and some of our surrounding districts that we find very important to keep an eye on, and then also our next steps. So Chapter 70, as you will recall, is the law that governs funding for all public schools in the Commonwealth. It establishes minimum spending requirements for each school district, and it also establishes minimum requirements for each city or town as far as its share of those costs. And then for the additional part of that, that spending for each district is made up by state aid or Chapter 70 aid. So in the foundation budget for 2026, every K-12 student will be, at this point, projected to be funded at a pure pupil rate in Malden of $18,830 per student if the governor's budget is approved by the legislature as it's been proposed. Pre-K students are not funded to the same degree. Those students who receive at least 2 hours of special education services per week, they are funded at a per pupil flat rate. And last fiscal year, that was $4,875. And we don't know yet, we haven't confirmed what that rate would be for 2026 yet. But the foundation budget and foundation enrollment includes all of Malden Public Schools students who are enrolled in our schools, but it also includes funding for tuition payments to those who are enrolled in charter schools anywhere in the state, vocational schools, except for Northeast Vocational because that's a different arrangement, and then other school districts, students who are going to other school districts through the school choice program, which we don't participate in, but our students are eligible to go out if they find a district that does participate in school choice. And so here's the foundation enrollment for the last 4 fiscal years. You can see that it's been in the 6,800 to 6,900 range. And again, this includes our pre-K to 12 enrollment, but it also includes those students who are in charter schools, those who are through school choice in other districts, and those who are also participating in vocational programs. The foundation budget, the total foundation budget for this year, if the governor's budget is approved, would be $130,437,000 plus. The required local contribution would be $60 million. So that's the part that the city of Malden would be required to contribute to that foundation budget, and then $69 million will be coming from the state. And again, this amount includes the funds that are paid out as tuition to the charter schools and to vocational schools and students who are attending other districts. So this is just some data that I believe I know you've seen before because I saw some members of our legislative delegation presenting to you on YouTube last year when I was researching Malden Public Schools for a potential job here. And for this fiscal year 2024, Malden's funding was $218,800,000. And this is our population. I'm sorry, that's the available revenue for the city, not the budget for the school district. And my bad. That's a lot more than the budget of the school district, to be clear. The foundation enrollment was 6,927 this year. Our local contribution, as I showed in the previous slide, and the Chapter 78 are those amounts in the foundation budget. But you can look at some of our surrounding neighboring cities, and their populations are not that much greater than ours, but the amount that they receive in Chapter 78 relative to what they require as a local contribution is quite significant. This is another representation of that, fiscal 23, 24, 25, 26. With a floor of 50 million. Our Chapter 78 has been going up, and this was a part of the promise of the Student Opportunity Act, that school districts with communities like ours, with students that had the demographic profile of students like ours, would receive more money increasingly over a 6-year period through the Student Opportunity Act. But as you can also see, some of our neighboring cities have received much, much more in that Chapter 78 through the same the same funding formula. And so I know that there's conversations that have been ongoing with our state legislative delegation about how to examine those discrepancies that are disadvantaging the students here in Malden relative to their neighbors in these surrounding towns. And this is another interesting statistic, just as a percentage of the city's local revenue. Malden is between 25 and 30% of its local revenue from the city there is the required contribution for the foundation budget. And then you can see that percentage for these other cities is significantly less. So just important context, and I guess the last thing I would just say as we get into the next steps is that, as you're aware, each January there's some anxious expectation of the governor's budget coming out and not knowing whether we're going to see increases or decreases, and to what extent that Student Opportunity Act will be bearing the promise that it was intended to bear here in Malden. And this year, we did see an increase, and we're grateful for that, but each year it does make it difficult to plan too far in advance because you don't know, we don't have any assurance that that's going to continue. But the Budget Subcommittee will be, Ms. Spadafora informed me, will be announcing meetings for next year's budget development to begin after February break. We, at the district office, will be having preliminary enrollment and staffing projection meetings with our school principals. And as everyone's aware, I believe, we've opened contract negotiations with our labor partners, the Malden Education Association. We have continued advocacy going on with our state legislative delegation to reform Chapter 70 funding formulas, or to at least look at why certain communities like ours are not receiving the benefit that we definitely should be. And then lastly, a report of entry findings with proposed areas of a development for our next strategic plan will be coming in this spring. And with that, I just want to plug 3 opportunities. Parents and community members give input into that. I'll be draft what I've learned from and all the data we've looked at and all visited all the classrooms months. The district PTO will be hosting the first of those gatherings at Ferryway School Thursday, the 13th. We'll be having a superintendent at Malden. They've been gracious to offer me the opportunity to share findings at their March meeting, which will be announced, and that I believe will be held at Salem Woods School. So with that, I do want to acknowledge Tony Mertz, our Director of Finance and Operations, who's with a broad smile in the back of the room. So you may have detailed questions that I may not answer, and she's, of course, available to answer questions related to budget also.
Questions of the team? Any questions? Ms. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No question, but whenever I can get on my soapbox when it comes to Chapter 70 and our formula that puts us at quite a disadvantage compared to the communities that surround us. This analogy I love because all of us up here who have door knocked for this job have come across people that have said, well, I don't pay attention to the school committee because I don't have kids in the district. And it's so much bigger than that, because when you look at those numbers that show how much revenue that this city takes in, how much the schools have to take and then what is left for our police and fire and so it does affect all of us. So I just, as we leave this room and we go, that is so much needed. Push school committee members aside because they don't have, you know, it doesn't affect, really does affect each and every one of us that lives. So, soapbox.
Take it over to the slide, Malden Foundational Budget. If you required local five's contribution, which is 57 million. The formula next year is saying Malden needs to put up 60 million. So that's roughly 3 million in change. Locally, we're capped at what we can go up each year, which we do, right to the limit, which is 2.5%, which equals roughly $2.5 million to $3 million. So the formula is 3 million versus what we raise, versus there being 40 departments across the organization. You can see the conundrum that we're in. Thankfully, as the superintendent mentioned, you know, we have Tony Mertz and we have Ron Hogan and we have others in our organization that have been helping us navigate this. But if this does not change, then our reserves would be gone in 4 to 5 years. Because, again, the formula is saying Malden can swing another 3 million. And that's what we bring in. And we have 40 departments. So something has to give here. And I was with the delegation today. You know, they're doing what they can, but as you can imagine, you do something for Malden, it affects this community and that community. But, you know, Ms. Spadafora and I and others have been saying, well, you know, we're only interested in what happens in Malden. What happens elsewhere is not our concern. But you could see the train wreck that that's coming if there is no relief to this formula. So, any questions on that? Does that make sense? That's probably the best way to look at it. You just look at what the formula is telling us we can afford, and you look at what we generate, it's a wash. And you have, besides the school department, 39, 40 other departments you have to fund. So, all right. Well, let's jump down to subcommittee reports. Let's go to Ms. Rose Zeiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quick update. So we had met back in January. The things that we are looking at are, after discussion had happened, looking at if we would like to make any changes or make any recommendations to changing when somebody moves out of the district. And we sort of narrowed it down to potentially making a change to if somebody's in the 12th grade, what we might do. So we'll be looking at that, and then waiting to get, we'll be getting feedback also from Central, because there's different, you know, to make sure we're covering all the bases, there's different facets of it, from transportation, things like that, that we want to make sure when we put something forward that we have already discussed all of that. And also looking at potentially making changes to different documents that are being allowed to be used for registering your child in the school. Interestingly, since we've done that, along with what folks have mentioned, there have been changes. I've been watching a lot of different webinars and things, and with the current status of what's going on, people are making recommendations on taking a look at what you ask for as far as using for documents to register your kids. So it's a timely, we were ahead of it, see that? But they're recommending that you do take a look at what you use for that. So we'll be meeting again and then reporting back to full committee pretty soon.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Ms. Spadafora.
I'm going to wing it because my laptop just died with my notes in front of me, so. So the negotiation subcommittee met January 23rd for our first bargaining session with the Malden Education Association. We are currently in bargaining sessions with all three of their units A, B, and C, which represent their educators, the directors and assistant principals, as well as educational support professionals. In that first meeting, we established ground rules, and I think probably the biggest ground rule is going to be all of our future sessions are going to be completely open, and that means open to the public. You will be able to come to here, council chambers, for future meetings, and still treated as though a public meeting of the school committee, so there wouldn't be any public comment or participation per se, but be able to see what goes on in these sessions. And I think it's really good, actually, to be able to share that with the community and hear what's going on. Let's see if my laptop has started. Those that would like to follow along, the district has a dedicated page to this. It's www.maldenps.org/negotiations-updates. And on that page, you can find the dates for upcoming meetings, some frequently asked questions if you're not familiar with the bargaining process, the current contracts, which part of my speaking points were just to add that the contracts do expire on August 31st, 2025, and we are very hopeful that we will not go a day past that. And any proposals will be on the website as well. So I invite the community to follow along, be a part of the process, and I look forward to seeing everybody else at the February 27th is our, it's okay. Oh, yes, I got it right. Good memory. And again, you can find all that information on the webpage, so update on negotiations. Thank you.
Questions? Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to go and put forth a resolution here to go and talk to our state legislation, state delegation concerning the Chapter 70 funding, and particularly the part that has to go and deal with how they go and they calculate the inflation rate. I think tonight we actually got some very sobering information about how about Chapter 70 is, the formula needs to get looked at. We know that there are parts there that certainly hurt Malden. This is one that came out of a coalition with a number of other cities that are facing the same problem. School committee members from Haverhill, from Chelsea, Swansea down the Cape, various places where they're also going to be hit particularly hard, want to go and do the best for their students, want to make sure that we're getting paid and that we can go and we can get the funding that we need to really go and give our kids the education they deserve. Effectively, what this would go and do is, if we can go and we can get our legislators to go and look at this, is right now the cap is for what they will go and look at for inflation. They index it at somewhere around 4.5%, and don't ever think that that was going to increase when they formed this originally. This would actually go and bump this up to 7%. And as we know, inflation has been, has been extensive and it's been large. If anyone has gone and bought eggs recently, if anyone has gone to the grocery stores and realized exactly how much you're going and paying for your cans of soda, your rice, your various foodstuffs, they have all gone up amazingly. And they've gone up not by 7%, not by 4.5%, but closer to 10, 11, 20. And that also reflects in everything that the school system's going by. That reflects in every teacher and educational professional, because their budget for those things suddenly is increased. It affects every single one of us. We just need the state to go in and put a more reasonable number. And I think that given, again, that information that we got tonight, going in asking our delegation to push for this, it's not just smart, it's necessary.
Form of a motion, seconded by Mr. Drummy. Any questions on it? Everybody's had a chance to look at it. I mean, it's not the panacea for us, but out of respect to you, I'm going to vote for it.
Thank you.
Clerk will call the roll. Yes.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spadafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Zeiberg?
Okay, that carries unanimously. All right, everybody, personal privilege, left to right. Mr. Drummy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ferryway has a paper drive going on, or a paper goods drive, I should say. They're looking for plates, napkins, cups, tablecloths, whatever they can do. They'll be taking them up till February 13th just to help out when they do their functions at the school. Parent-teacher conference will be Tuesday the 11th from 3:30 to 5. Parents are requested to get in touch with their students' teachers to make appointments for that, to delegate some time for that. That's how they're meeting, because later on that night, the PTO and the SSC are meeting on Zoom, or in this case, Google Meets. To get there, again, go to the Ferryway School PTO site. It'll give you the instructions on how to hook up and go from there. I just want to mention that last Thursday they had a Ferryway karaoke night. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I saw the pictures. Now, that involved children, adults, someone with a million nose, and several others, and it looked like they had a great time. There was face painting, the kids had a ball, they dressed up. They had a really good time, and this PTO has really done well, and they're going to keep doing it again and again. So it was a fun night. Last but not least, well, second to last but not least, school break 17th through the 22nd, no school. Kids will be happy, parents will be going crazy. And for those of you that, I don't know, support the confectionery and greeting card companies, the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, children. Have a good one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, I think. Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Wednesday, February 12th, there will be parent-teacher conferences at the Forestdale School from 3:30 to 5. But most importantly, important to me and should be important to all of us, it's National School Counseling Week. Yay! It is an essential function within a school district that a lot of people are unaware of. The roles and responsibilities of our school counselors and school adjustment counselors are something that's often under the radar. They spend a lot of time with students, both individually and groups, and within the classroom, getting to know them in ways that other people in the building don't, and getting to support them and their family in ways that other people within school don't. Most people don't even know that this is their week, but I want to highlight how fortunate we are to have all of the great folks that we do working in the Malden Public Schools in that capacity. So thank you.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Macklin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an announcement, some announcements from the ELC. Report cards for all students and progress reports for students with disabilities will be sent home on February 6th and 7th. Report card conferences will be held during the week of February 10th through the 14th. The ELC PTO is collecting items for their gift basket raffle. Notices were sent home in backpacks. Raffle tickets will go on sale next week. Let's sell as many tickets as possible. The ELC Winter Festival will take place on February 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. Join us for an evening of music, gift basket raffles, and a ton of fun. And from the high school, in celebration of Black History Month, the Malden High School Afro-Caribbean Club will be holding a celebration of culture, dance, and food on Thursday, this coming Thursday, February 6th from 6 to 9 p.m. Quarter 2 report cards will be available in Aspen on February 6th. The class of 2027 will be hosting the Cupid Shuffle on Wednesday, February 12th. And MHS Caregiver Faculty Conferences will be held on Thursday, February 13th from 3:30 to 5. And lastly, Belle of the Ball is back. Belle of the Ball is an initiative that helps juniors and seniors with prom attire and accessories. Students in the high school do need a referral. I'll certainly distribute the form to guidance counselors at the high school and share with my colleagues up here for their constituents as well. There are some important deadlines. The early bird referral, I think that ends soon. I think that ends on Friday. And so with the early bird incentive, students can choose and select the time that they would like to do their shopping. You're paired with a personal shopper who will help you select a gown or whatever it is that you choose to wear to the prom, and with shoes and accessories. So that deadline is this Friday. The deadline for any referrals would be March 14th, and the shopping day is March 22nd. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Rose Zeiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some information from the Linden PTO on Wednesday, this Wednesday. It's the Winter Walk to School. 2 meeting locations. One is Steve's Corner, which is on Salem Street. The other one is at the Hawk Ridge Delta, which is on Beach Street where Lawrence crosses that. Meeting times are 7:30 to aim to be there and to be leaving the locations at 7:45 and then walking to the school. Other events they have coming up, the SDG Club is hosting a movie night for students in grades 5 to 8 this coming Friday. They're also currently selling carnations. They'll be delivered on Valentine's Day. The deadline for that is Wednesday for ordering. Those are, I believe, $2 a piece. And they are hosting those events to help raise the funds so they can go to their next Model UN events. They also are, the PTO is hosting a night out for students in grades 3 to 5 at Launch Trampoline Park in Woburn, and that is on Wednesday, February 26th, from 5:30 to 6:30. It's not a fundraiser, just a chance to get together, and flyers, be looking for flyers for that to be going home. And we have started a few committees for some upcoming events. They have their Multicultural Celebration Night Committee that will be planning. There's different subcommittees within that they'll be needing, and so please be looking for some announcements on that. This one I think sounds like a lot of fun. The Messy Science Day Committee, which is an idea that's coming from parents and teachers to utilize the driveway for different activities. That will also be coming up. The month of February is also their readathon month. We talked about that last month. There will be 3 prizes this year: a pizza party for first place, popsicle party for second, and a reader's swag bag for third. They are encouraging kids to read, and I'm especially still continuing that reading during break. And next Thursday, they're celebrating kindergarten's 100th day of school with a Throwback Thursday Spirit Day. encouraging everybody to dress like their kindergarten self, as well as having a guest who's who of teachers and staff photos from their kindergarten school photo. And the PTO has purchased some prizes to make the day special for kindergarteners. February 14th is also School Resource Officer Day, and they're hoping to get handmade cards together to give to them from the students. And the last one I have, they're working with Chess Wizards to offer chess classes on Tuesdays, starting March 4th until the end of April. The class with Chess Wizards is open to students in grades K to 5 with limited space, and the cost is $28 a class. Those will be held in the library, and flyers and signups for the class will be coming out this week as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Yeah, my apologies that I didn't catch the inline thing and had to go and find my email. Some announcements from the Salem Wood. This Wednesday, there is an early dismissal at 11 a.m. On next Wednesday, February 12th, there is going to be a school council meeting at 5 p.m. There is a virtual component to that, and the FTO will be meeting at 6 p.m. in the 5K Cafe. And then, of course, February vacation. Kids, be nice to your parents. They'll take you out to someplace nice, like the movies, and just leave you there for a few hours. It'll be fine. Is February 17th through the 21st. And just something a little personal from me. I know that right now there's a lot of chaos that is coming from Washington, D.C. I know that there's a lot of people that are anxious, and I want to go and just let people know there are places that if you want to get active, you can. You feel free to reach out to me and I can plug you in if you feel you need to go and do something. I'm sure that the union has resources if you want to go and do stuff in the schools. And at the very least, come to these PTO functions, get involved, see what the kids are doing. And I can tell you that going to a karaoke night or going to a winter festival is a little way to go and give yourself a little break from some of the chaos that's going on. And one of the things that we need to go and do is remember that even when things are horrendous, we need to go and make sure that we're really looking for joy and happiness where we can find it. Thank you.
Ms. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Out of BB, we have a whole district early dismissal, 11 a.m. on Wednesday. On the 6th, Thursday, there's a Title I breakfast happening at 8:15 a.m. Make sure you check your backpacks because report cards will be sent home as well. February 14th, we have Spirit Day and the last day for access testing. February vacation. And the BB School Site Council will be meeting on the 26th of February at 5 p.m. A couple district-wide. The Malden CPAC is hosting Rachel Duffy from Constellations to discuss what is ABA and how does it support my students' educational journey. This meeting is going to be held February 10th, 6:30 at the Salem Wood School 5 through 8 cafeteria. Congratulations to the Malden swim team. They are the Greater Boston League champions for the 4th season in a row. It's not too late then to support the Golden Tornadoes Club with the Golden Tornadoes Comedy Show fundraiser at Giggles Comedy Club / Prince Pizza, Wednesday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. And then a big shout out and good luck, success in a competition. The Malden High School Science Competition Club is heading to Brown University for the Science Olympiad on Saturday, February 8th. Malden is one of 50 teams and 31 schools participating. And then lastly, I said soapbox, I'm gonna get on my milk box, just because I've had some parents and students actually concerned about why there is no more chocolate milk in the cafeteria. And that is not because we don't love chocolate milk, and we know our kids, chocolate milk, if you're gonna drink milk, chocolate's the way to go. However, the USDA is saying that milk-based products should have no more than 10 grams of added sugars to that chocolate milk. And if we were to put that in our cafeterias, anything more than that, we will not get reimbursed for any of our meals. So if you're not seeing chocolate milk, it's because we cannot put it out there anymore. However, there is dairy farmers across America, and this is what I was doing my research on today, are coming up with low sugar options of chocolate milk so we can get it back in the cafeteria. So stay tuned. It might not be here right now. However, it could be coming back. So we didn't take it away because we don't love some good chocolate milk. Thank you.
Good. All right, everyone. So motion to go into executive session. Motion by Mr. Drummey, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Drummey? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spadafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty? Yes. Mr. Gray? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Mr. Zeiberg? Yes.
Okay, school committee is hereby in executive session.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Do I have any motions? Mr. Bernard? Oh.
I'd like to make the motion that we accept and approve the contract for SEIU, is it 888? Effective for September 1st, 2024.
Do I have any seconds? Seconded by Mr. McCarthy. The clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Christensen, Mr. Drummond, Mr. McCarthy. Yes. Ms. Spadafora,
Yes?
Ms. Macklin. Yes. Ms. Horty. Yes. Mr. Gray, Mr. Bernard. Yes. Ms. Rosenberg. Yes.
That passes unanimously. And just to note that that passed in executive session unanimously as well. Do I have any additional motions? Ms. Horty?
Motion to end the meeting.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Horty, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. School committee is hereby adjourned.
Recording stopped.